All right, everyone, welcome back. Going into hour number 2 here. And this will be an interesting hour, probably unlike any other hour on Dropped Frames, only because we're going to be talking about, I guess, a touchy subject for some.
Yeah.
We should probably start out and define a couple of things. I'll start out and say that, one, when we say the word depression, we don't mean clinical depression. And
Yeah.
two, none of us are therapists or psychologists or anything. We are only sharing our experiences and our methods for perhaps dealing with that. If you have feelings that maybe we're talking about, talk to someone about it. Don't think what we're saying is going to work for you. It's not going to work for everyone. It might even only work for us. And with that in mind, this is more, I'm not sure how to even phrase it. It's just be careful. Like, we're not fucking really good at this.
Yeah.
We just wanted an open forum to be able to talk about something like this. And that's kind of what this represents. And Gassy, Zeke, and Co, if you guys want to add on to that, feel free.
Yeah, like what you said before about, we were tweeting about it and stuff like that. I didn't want to tweet out like depression or whatever, because I knew there's only 140 characters on Twitter and stuff like that. And I wanted to, tweet out the show and stuff like that. But I didn't want to say depression and have people think that we're talking about like what we like we know what it's like to have clinical depression or something like that. I can't speak for anybody here. Right. Maybe somebody here does have clinical depression. I don't know. I personally know I don't. I know, like you said, generally we use the term in a very like general way, just like being depressed about, certain things with streaming or things that get you down, things that bum you down. So that's why I said emotional toll. I used what the terminology that Zeke used. Because there is a side of streaming that doesn't get talked about, because we're here to make people laugh, we're here to entertain people, we're here to provide an escape and stuff like that for a lot of people that are dealing with depression and stuff. So I don't want people to think that we know what it's like to be clinically depressed or anything like that. I want people to know, like you said, it's just kind of a general term that we're using when talking about some issues and hurdles that we come into with streaming.
And the term depression, and I'm actually coming from a place of experience and knowledge, a little bit personally and a little bit family. My mother has suffered from severe, like, crushing depression for ever since I've been, alive on the planet. And the term, the word depression, I've always associated with the clinical description. Because I don't like mincing, or I don't like mixing depression with stress, sadness, like all this other kind of stuff, because it has a different meaning for me personally.
Right.
And that's why I kind of shied away from using that particular term. So that's my I don't know, my problem. It's not a problem, but that was my
that's how you view it. Sure.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I think Zeke actually hit the nail on the head exactly what I was going to say. Depression is a very broad term, which has
super general,
specific meanings to specific people, especially those that have been through it or know people that have been through it. What we're talking about specifically today is depression associated directly with the act of streaming. So we are talking about something that there's not a word for. We're talking about something very similar to depression, but it's completely tied to our art. It's completely tied to what we do on a regular basis. And we are not talking about just the general worldview, but more of the specific Twitch-related, streaming-related, being in public every day, the amount of work that goes into it, your success up and downs, your metrics, all the stuff that comes with the influencing factors that can really get you down that are all associated with Twitch.
Sure.
Yeah, and I think it just it's too narrow of a word, in my opinion, that of things that I would love to get on the table. Like, as far as, like, because depression, it seems like one avenue of all the stress that you deal with by being a streamer.
We can clarify that too, and just be like, you could easily use terms just like people have said in the chat, like mental fatigue, stress, sadness. You can interject whatever words you want there. I'm not going to sit here and be like, I'm depressed. Like, that's not what I'm saying here. We're talking about the issues that streamers deal with every day, because we have lives and things that go on in our lives that affect what we do. We have things that happen on Twitch and in our chat and just in general that affect us, and I guess this is kind of peeling back that layer and and sharing maybe a side of streaming that you guys maybe you don't want to know about. I don't know, but I think it's interesting. It's an interesting topic, and it kind of gives you a little more of an idea into the world of I don't know, broadcasters that do this as a job. And
if I may,
go for it. No. Interject whenever you want.
I just want to start with a story, just real quick. When we were at the panel at PAX, doing the Drop Frames panel, and you were standing in line, Max, and didn't get to your question because Coh is windy. And I came up to you afterwards and I said, "Hey, man, so what, I'm sorry we didn't get to you, brother, but like, what did you want to talk about?" And then you brought up this subject, and I went, you'd be the perfect guest for this. And the reason why is because it seems like you've got everything. You've got everything going for you. And that's what I'm saying. And I'm not trying to be a dick or anything, but you're a very popular streamer. It doesn't seem like you would have any problems with emotion or anything like that. So I was really super jacked that you were the one.
Completely false.
I was just really excited that you were the one that we could get on to talk about this because, and I associate it with people like who seem like they have everything. Like Kurt Cobain is the example I usually use. Like, seems like the dude has everything, but when your brain doesn't like process that happiness, right? That kind of stuff. So I was just glad that you were the one to be on and discuss this.
Yeah, like I said, that was the question I thought would be interesting for you guys to talk about, because that's what the Drop Frames is. You guys talk about streaming and important issues and things like that. So I figure, as far as to my knowledge, I don't think you guys have really touched on that kind of subject.
Not really. I think we've all maybe shared like little inklings about that.
Yeah, I'm sure there's been like little,
but we haven't really gone into the whys and hows or if personal remedies or anything like that. And a lot of this, I don't think there are answers for. I think it's just kind of psychologically how one deals with everything. And there's not a right or wrong way to do so. Maybe there is. I'm kind of making things up because I don't know the answer. And if I did, I probably wouldn't be someone that could talk about this with that in mind. So I guess to like start things off with, for me, when it came to starting out streaming, it was kind of something that actually came from depression. Like the idea of streaming wasn't something that I started doing like, we could be really successful if I started streaming. It was more like, I like playing video games. Maybe I should just turn on a stream and maybe that'll make me feel better. And with that in mind, that's kind of streaming is a way to get through a lot of crap because I focus on that rather than the other stuff, right? And so is that similar to you guys? Like, do you use streaming as a way to get away from some things?
Definitely, I'd say a little bit, yeah, for sure. Like, I mean, and I know that it is, I've talked to other casters and stuff like that, that it is an escape for them too. It's something that gives them something to do when they have a bunch of stuff going on in their mind and they don't have to deal with it necessarily. Like it is an escape. It's not so much like, for me, it's not that all the time. Sometimes it definitely has been that, but I know that you were, it's mirrored what I've heard from a lot of other casters and stuff like that. I'll let the other two talk about it because, like I said, it's not necessarily that so much for me, but it has been that for me at times, for sure.
Yeah, streaming for me is when I'm happiest. That's why like I stream as often as I do, because when I'm not streaming, there's a tendency that I feel like I'm not being fulfilled. I'm not doing a job. It's like, I don't know if anybody's ever been jobless, but like that's the worst feeling in the world when you're like waiting for a call back from some sort of application that you put in, and you just sit there waiting and just feeling more and more worthless, which is why I'm glad I have streaming, because I can just flip on the stream anytime I want. And I feel like I'm actually, working, I have a job.
Do you feel like that when you're not streaming? Like the idea of not streaming is impactful in that same way to you?
I take 1 to 2 days off a week, and like I really try and fill those days with shit I need to get done, because if I don't have anything to do on my days off, I feel like I need to be like, why aren't you working? Why aren't you working? Get to work.
Yep.
Go stream.
Coh, what about you?
Well, for me, gaming in general has kind of been an escape for me. Not to generalize. Now that we've been all specific about everything, let's go right back to the other side. But gaming in general has always been a way for me to focus on something just that's not what's going on right now. For me, I'm a warrior and I'm an analyzer. So if I'm just sitting there, if I'm not doing anything, generally, you know, my mind is running a mile a minute about whatever in my life is stressful at that point. And you know, I've always been extremely ADD. I was a Ritalin baby. You know, I was one of those kids taking way too much Ritalin way too often because doctors didn't have any idea what they were doing, and that happened for years. And you know, it turned me into someone who just stared at walls pretty much a lot of times. And when I finally got off of that, I found that my ADD when I was done with that was 10 times worse than it had ever been. I mean, these days, and people tell me all the time, how do you do all this stuff? I don't have an option. You know, I'm so ADD these days that if I'm not fully engaged, then a part of me is doing that worrying, analyzing thing. I can do that while I'm doing something else. So for me, streaming is the perfect job for my type of personality. There's all sorts of things going. I have 4 monitors. I'm always checking all of them. You know, I'm fully engaged in what I'm doing. I'm plugged into chat. I'm plugged into the game. I'm plugged into the metrics. It's almost like a meditation when I'm at it going full strength. And, you know, when you're really in the zone streaming and your chat's having a great time and you're having a great time, there's nothing else like it.
It's a pretty good
and
high.
It really is.
Absolutely.
It really is. And I think, you know, it may even be related to, you know, the same kind of high that stage performers feel and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the kind of thing where, you know, when I first started streaming, I was lucky enough to get that relatively quickly. And I actually was the opposite of JP, and I think it's going to be really interesting as the show continues to talk about these different perspectives. I started Twitch with the goal to succeed. I said, I am going to start streaming on Twitch. All these other guys are doing it. One of the first streams I watched was Man vs. Game. I looked at him and I said, I want to be that guy someday. This guy knows what's going on. He plays games for a living. He's got logos. It looks professional. It's a TV show. This is a television channel. This guy's at the center of it doing what he wants to do. And I said, that's what I want to do. And that's what caused some of the most depressing times of my life months later. But that's for other times. But it's really, for me, these days, one of the best forms of mental meditation that I could possibly do.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's interesting that you started off that way, because for me, like, I started streaming when I was working full-time at MLG, so I wouldn't say unhappy with that job. I was just the industry, I hate saying that, the community that I worked in was not unlike Twitch in itself, where they can be super destructive sometimes. And so, like, the idea of getting away from that and making a community to myself that was much more insular and also just not super easy into tearing someone down was what kind of made me get away from that. And so when I left MLG, the idea of streaming full time and was not actually really a thing until I had someone push me to do it. But as I started to do it more, I realized, like, hey, these people are actually here to see me. They're not here to watch what I'm shoutcasting because I'm the shoutcaster at this particular point in time, right? So, like, once I discovered that, then that high, which you were just talking about, Cohh, kind of came into my life. And now that's why I do streaming so much, is because I enjoy it, and it is an escape, and that high comes back time and time again. But I think, like, when I started was around, I think the stream started back in like 2010. So the idea of being successful, it existed, but not to the extent that it did, 2 years ago, or that it does today, right? Like the levels of success are exponentially higher than they were back then.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think, too, one important thing as we kind of continue talking about this, I think that at the different stages or levels, if there is such a thing at Twitch, there are different issues. Like, it's probably safe to say that we're all at the top tier in some level, right? Or at most people's estimations or
we're getting it there.
Yeah.
Like,
and our issues are going to be different from, people that are just starting out, from people that are doing it for 2 years and it's just not going anywhere. Like, there's multiple things that occur at all levels.
Yeah. And I mean, to follow that up, sorry, but I just wanted to say, to follow that up, like, with you saying, like, different levels of streamer, people that are just starting out are going to have different issues than, say, like, people that have been doing it for a while, like us. People ask me all the time, like at conventions and stuff like that, the views aren't there, nobody's like one person watching me and stuff like that. How do I grow now at this stage in Twitch? And to be perfectly honest, like I'll be frank with them and be like, I can only tell you what I would do.
Right.
I can't tell you like how, because the landscape was completely different when I started. Like I was on Justin.tv, I was on Ustream and stuff like that. I've been streaming forever.
Yeah.
But the way to grow from back then is completely different than what it is now. Like
really
I can't relate to that because I didn't have to deal with that. I didn't have to deal with, the massive growth and massive amount of streamers that are all trying to do the same thing and be different and stand out and stuff like that. So I have to be honest with people and say, I don't know exactly, because I did not deal with that in the same sense that you have, because everything has changed on Twitch. I can only tell you what I would do if I were in your position. That's all I can do.
And even then, every year. Oh, go ahead, Zeke.
As far as like people on this show right now are concerned, like JP, Co, and Gassy there. As far as this whole group is concerned, I'm probably the lowest as far as like follows, views, subs, the whole thing. And the up and down of it, like you can go to JP's channel, you can go to Co's channel, you can go to Gassy's channel, and they'll always have thousands of people watching. For me and my end, I have I would say a core audience of between 700 and 900 people, and it all depends on the game I'm playing. So
Right.
I will go up and down, like severely, depending on the game I'm playing.
Mhm.
And the funny thing is, like, it's never enough.
I think that could be said for all of us, really.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
the same way,
it's,
man.
it's relative and it scales differently, but
Yeah.
it
And there
absolutely
you
is
go.
the same.
Like point
Dude,
that, and that's
when
the
H-
point. Like me putting that out there, like I didn't know that you guys like go through that, like because you guys are like, in my opinion, at least one tier, if not a couple of you, 2 tiers above where I am at as far as streaming goes.
But I'll just say, since it is like you're talking about tiers and whatever and stuff like that, like I said, it is relative and it scales up. That doesn't go away.
It doesn't,
like
yeah.
that will never go away. Like that seeing the numbers and stuff like that. The biggest thing that I've always told people, and I still struggle. Every broadcaster, every online content creator struggles with it. Is not getting too wrapped up in the numbers.
Yeah,
and it
that's
changes.
the hardest thing, man.
It is one of the hardest things you'll have to deal with. Not getting wrapped up with, well, let's say it, like comparing yourself to other streamers, seeing, the success of one person doing something, and you're like, well, how come I didn't have that or whatever,
And that's
Like,
but
that
the
doesn't
worst
go
part-
away.
It's
It
the
just
weird
changes.
thing is that success on Twitch is actually defined by comparing yourself to others. And so with that
And
in
not
mind,
only that, though,
it's
there's a medium in which you have to decide how many metrics am I going to look at to help myself progress. And
Right.
by not looking at the metrics, am I hurting myself?
Yeah,
It's
same way.
really, like there's if you're looking at them or if you're not looking at them, you can find reasons to be depressed and angry about them.
Same-
Because
yeah.
if you're not looking at them, then you're sitting there going, well, maybe I could be doing something different. Maybe I should be analyzing them. Maybe I should be, and stuff like that. But, yeah, it can really lead to a mess.
Yeah, perfect example. For 4 months, I didn't look at the sub count, and prior to that, it was almost a tick hourly of going back into a spreadsheet and like, oh, there's 2 more. Oh, it dropped by 5. Let's plug that in there.
Yeah.
But if I set this goal for that, and then I was just like, you know what? Let's just try not doing it. And then it was like, oh God, I hope. It was a pretty good day yesterday. I hope that in a month those people stick around. I won't know though. Like what? I guess I'm okay.
Yep.
Like that. That's kind of the thought process with that. So I don't know where the balance is on that. Like if it's a weekly thing and you have a set time to where you look at your metrics, you focus on that, and then you shut it the fuck away for a week. And come back.
I think it's honestly, I don't think there is one. There's no answer to that. Like it's heavily just on a personal level. Like I know Co, for instance, he's talked about it before. Like he's very into the metrics and stuff like that and looks at it and stuff. And that's his approach to it. I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I'm saying for me, it's different. I don't look at metrics as much because I know myself personally. If I look at the metrics too much and I see a downward decline and stuff like that, I know that it will mess with my head a little bit. I know that it will do that. So I know exactly how much to look at it based on experience and stuff. What I've told people is it's very easy with being just an online content creator, whether you're doing Twitch or YouTube, to get caught up in the metrics and let that fuck with your head. And if you get in that negative space, that's going to reflect in your content. For me anyways, it will reflect in my content whether I want it or not. If I'm in a negative headspace, some way or another, it's going to come across. I'm not going to do as good as a broadcast. I'm not going to do as good as a video when I'm recording. And that's where I draw the line. And I'm like, okay, no, Max, you could look at this, you could obsess over this, or you could just do your best job and you'll put out a better product. So logically, following that train of logic, you're going to put out, better content. People are going to want to follow you. People are going to want to, be around a person that's more positive, as opposed to somebody who's coming off desperate. You know what I mean?
Is that an active
How do you get over that then? Like, how do you get over that hump of like, this sucks, everything sucks, the show is bad, I feel bad, I'm putting on a bad show. How do you move to a better space?
Like, is it an active thing for you?
What's that?
Are you always like actively, like if you immediately feel that, are you just like, can't do that, got to get out of the negative space? Like what do you do,
you're saying,
how
how do I
it?
get out? Like if I am having a bad night or something like that and I was planning on casting on a bad mood.
Kind of what Zeke was saying as well, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So
like what's your thing?
I'll be honest with you. Sometimes I have casted when I was feeling down and I probably shouldn't have casted, and very rarely, sometimes it will have an opposite effect where like when I'm casting, suddenly like, support will just come out of nowhere. There was like a while back, like a Fucked Up Friday that I did where I really didn't want to cast Fucked Up Friday. I didn't want to. And I knew I was in a bad headspace, and I'm like, but I stopped myself and I'm like, all right, let's just do it and we'll see what happens. And people were ridiculously supportive. I don't know why or why it timed up that way, but there was a bunch of people subbing, there was a bunch of people watching and stuff like that, and it flipped it around for me. So that can happen, and it kind of goes against what I just said. But I also know that, for instance, like YouTube creating or something, like, making a video or whatever, I can't record when I'm bummed out because I won't be as entertaining.
The energy level and everything, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Same thing with streaming. People have watched past casts of mine and just not everybody sees it, but there's some people in the chat that see that, like, oh, Gassy seems a little bummed today. So what I try to do is like, I will not cast if I know I'm gonna have a bad cast and I can't get out of that mental space. If I think I can and I'm not too terribly in the rut, such like I did that Fucked Up Friday. I think that's the distinction, is like I wasn't completely down. Like I had a feeling that if I did cast, maybe I would feel better. But as a rule, I will not cast if I am completely in a bad headspace and just hating shit. What I'll do is maybe I'll go like take Malcolm for a walk or something like that and just disconnect myself and try to get myself in a more positive headspace before I even consider going live or whatever. And this will, I'm sure this varies between you guys. Maybe Cohh does something different. Maybe you do something different. Yeah, I can't pinpoint one specific thing that I do other than just trying to disconnect myself for a second. And like I said, detach myself from the numbers, detach myself from the things that are getting me down and stuff like that.
So for Cohh, I think you, out of the four of us, probably keep the most rigorous schedule. You're always live at X times on X days for X days a week. What is it for you when you're not feeling it? Like, one, what is the reason? And two, like, do you just push through, or what is your remedy for that if you have one?
Well, real quick, and I will get right to that, but just real quick, because there was a few things I wanted to bring up real fast that we kind of skipped over. First of all, what Zeke said about numbers, specifically, what you're doing right now, Zeke, is exactly where I was about 6 months ago. If I wasn't playing a hype title, I'd be between around 700 and 1,000 people, and then if I'd switch over to something that had some more actual viewers, I'd bounce up. I mean, hell, you had like 3,000 people watching you last night. What's kind of interesting to think about is, of a streamer now, since I've had a few big titles under my belt, which is kind of how you move up in levels on Twitch. Months ago, when I was streaming H1Z1, at the very beginning, I had a week straight of over 13,000 people every day. Now, when I stream Pillars of Eternity at night, I'm lucky if I get past 3,000. So for me, that what that shows me is in a 2-month period, at least 10,000 people decided, And it's almost like now the more I go up, the more these differences I get here, the more it's kind of like becoming impactful, because now it's like, damn, there's thousands of people that are deciding there's better things to do. It's not dislike now anymore, a few hundred. Now it's like And it's almost gotten to a point where a few times I've been kind of nervous about it. Like does this mean my channel's going down? Like what's going on? But it's kind of interesting because it just like, I think one of you made the really good point, that never ends. That type of analysis just moves with you as you progress. And I can guarantee you the people at the top of their game are doing the same thing we are, even if they're on the very top of the heap. But then again, that's one of the reasons that I think a lot of us are successful, is because we really do kind of look at this stuff sometimes. And, if it gets to a point where we need to, we step back and take a break, like Max was saying. Me, on the other hand, interestingly enough, I 180 it. When I get to a point where the alarms are going off and it's red, I actually dive into the metrics. I start researching. I lose myself in the numbers. And that's one of the reasons I got to a point earlier where I had to decide, am I going to keep streaming or am I going to quit and get a real job, because this streaming thing is not working. I got to a point where it was 3 months into streaming. It was like my dark ages. That's for later. But anyway, back to what you're talking about with the schedule and stuff. For me, when I first started my 8 a.m. switch, which is one of the things that came from the dark ages, my first few months of it were really tough. And that's because I was getting up at 8 a.m. every day, sometimes to 10 to 15 people. Some mornings I'd log on and there wouldn't even be a line in chat. Those were times that I kind of did have to push myself. But it did get to a point these days where I can turn on my stream, and I have done this many times, where things in my life have put me in a horrible mood. I had an animal die the night before once. I had really bad family news a couple times. These days, you can get to a point where you log in and there's so much excitement, hype, good vibes, hellos, people that you see every day. I mean, a lot of times streamers don't realize, a lot of times viewers don't realize that when they come back to the same stream every day, even if the streamer's not calling them out, even if they're not, directly talking to them, that's extremely meaningful to us, to see the same person every day chatting to other people, helping out in the chat room.
Absolutely, yeah.
Just seeing that kind of stuff can completely change your attitude. And these days, I know that if I start up my stream, it's going to put me in a good mood. It's going to get me to that place I need to be. And a lot of times it's almost like therapy for me in the morning. I mean, I will be energized in a position where I'm just not feeling it before. But it took a lot of time to get there. And there's no question at the beginning, it was really tough. It was really tough.
A question about, so your stream in particular is I guess different from the other, from ours, in the sense that it's PG, and do you have a sense of, good vibes is one of your mode, right? Is that by design, in the sense that you don't want, we have a lot of negativity in our stream, because I think a lot of times streamers, the way that they act is what their stream will kind of be. So I'm a trolly piece of shit. A lot of my viewers do the same thing.
Just saying I'm negative? Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying.
I think he's saying that all of your viewers are sexy.
Don't be negative.
I think he's trying to say you're the Playboy Mansion of Twitch.
What I'm saying, is that by design, one, is that by design, and two, does that help you?
When I rebuilt my channel, I decided to build it, both the show, my community, and my channel, in the way of what would my worldview be in a place that I would want to be every day. And I came to the conclusion that, on my channel, we have really good discussions. We have really good arguments. We censor some language, but we still say shit. We allow people to have pretty heated discussions a lot. It's not a daycare. It's not, we don't slap wrists and stuff. We all have a really good time. But at the same time, I wanted to make sure that people understood that there's plenty of places in the world to go for negativity. And I do everything in my power to keep that out of my channel. Doesn't mean we can't have real discussions. Doesn't mean we can't talk about very conflicting things, which happens all the time. But that was a theme I wanted to build my community around, knowing that there's plenty of great places on Twitch to have a great time in an environment that may not bolster that. And sometimes I have a really great time in those channels. But I wanted to do something where I wanted to reflect not only on me, but on the whole community as a unit. That's one of the reasons that, when people get included, when people come in, it's kind of a big deal a lot of times. So, and especially when they've been there for a long time, when we get the year sub people, those are pillars in our community a lot. Those are people that everyone knows their name. It's kind of like Cheers a lot of times. And there's thousands of people. So it's, I kind of, and it wasn't let me make this clear. I didn't really do that. I didn't really do this before I rebuilt my channel. I was very much just a guy playing video games. So it was a conscious decision, and thankfully it thankfully worked out really well.
And I think we all, in a sense, do try to, like, I know I do try to build, like, you know, a positive environment in my channel and stuff like that. Nobody starts their channel unless that's what they're going for. They just want to be, you know, the asshole or whatever and stuff like that. It's pretty.
I don't want to.
No. I'm not saying that you were accusing or anything like that.
Focus on community over entertainment. Let me be perfectly blunt. I'm not that entertaining. I just did the streaming thing and it didn't go great. So for me as a streamer, I had to reassess and really come to the conclusion that I had to attack this from a different angle. People like you, Max, and the F Up crew, Eat My Diction, you guys are just fun to watch. The lyrics, the bike mans, the summits. You know, you guys are just, it's like you're watching a TV show. My approach was kind of going, I want to do the same thing, but come at it from a different angle. Not saying it's better or worse, just different.
Yeah, for sure. And I would say that there's probably a lot of people that disagree with you saying you're not that entertaining. But no, I know what you're saying. You wanted to build a community and focus on that. You know, you wanted to focus on building a positive space, and I do as well, still too. But
well,
I don't know.
The things that you're just saying, talking about like the differences between broadcasts and stuff. I think it's the same with when I used to be 50 pounds heavier than this, and one of the things that was reiterated to me over and over again, and I think it's true on Twitch, it's true everywhere, is that you can't compare your workout or yourself to anybody else and expect to be happy.
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
Yeah,
it is the worst thing in the world when I go into someone's channel and I watch their, you know, show or whatever you want to call it for half an hour. I'm like, what? Why the fuck is anybody even watching this?
Mm-hmm.
I am way more entertaining. Like, I'm way more interactive. I'm way more blah 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 down the line, and that's like something I want to like pound into people's heads. Even if I don't take my own advice, that's the worst thing you can do is compare yourself to other people. That's like the ticket to
yeah. I've done the same thing daily.
It's fair to say that pretty much every single streamer with success, or at all, just a streamer in general, compares themselves to others at one point or another, if not still does.
Yeah.
Like,
and a lot of time you just ask
inevitable.
why. Like, why do they have that, or why don't I have that? Like, that's kind of the question that pops into my mind. And for me, the thing that has stopped that or has helped that is I just tell myself, like, why the fuck are you not live right now? If you care so much about why this person is doing X, like, just go live, because right now you're not getting anything except upset.
Mm-hmm.
And if you go live, then you can actually get something, you idiot. And so, like, that's the thought process in my head that has worked for the most part. But I'm sure that'll have its own issues.
I do want to ask you, because you seem like the one that out of all of us that I would think has his emotions in check, like
I've done a good job,
the most even keeled of all of us. Maybe I'm wrong, but it seems like that to me. I just want to know, like, when do you feel bad? Like, what makes you stout or that kind of stuff?
I mean, I think the weirdest thing is that StarCraft, being in that community, trained me to see like how negative someone could be towards you. And with that, like, I've put up a really, 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 really huge shell. And that's not to say I won't talk about it or say that, you know, it will affect me, but I can shrug it off. And with that in mind, I still can, like, I mean, it happened 10 minutes ago. I looked at chat. There's 6,700 people in here. I found the one guy saying something negative about me, and I was like, should I ban him? Should I respond to him? Should I call him out? Because that's how I deal with people on my stream. That's how I deal with it. It's like, if you say something to me, it's coming right back at you in a second as soon as I see it, if the mods don't get to it in time. That's how I deal with it. And it's probably not the proper way to deal with it. But
is there a proper way, though?
No, not really. It's case by case or person by person.
Let me just say, too, just on top of that, is I'm not going to cut you off, but I just wanted to bring out a good point of what you just said. a lot of people don't realize, like, yes, there's so many nice things said in chat. There's so much positive support.
It doesn't matter how many there are.
But we hone in on that negative. That's just natural. It's like a bright, shining red light. It's there. We see it. Don't get me wrong. We see it. Yeah. If we don't acknowledge it, it's because we've purposely not acknowledged it.
And usually that's the best.
And you train yourself. Yeah, you train yourself to do that. That's what being a streamer is, having thick skin and being able to shrug that off.
Yeah, and I did that for a while, and eventually I think it got to me so much that I was doing it for so long that I never had anywhere to speak about that. So it was just kind of like repressed, I guess.
Yeah.
So then I just went to like, you know what? If they're going to be an asshole, fuck it. I'll be a dick to them. And then we're all good.
And that is case by case too. Like if somebody says something like just ridiculously rude and obviously their intention is to hurt, I'd be like, just get the fuck out of here. Like, I don't need you here, you know?
Yeah.
That is definitely a valid way to go about it.
Julia's comments. That's 100% right, Ascender.
I'd say it's absolutely amazing how the kill him with kindness works on Twitch against trolling. It completely knocks them off guard.
It does.
That's all I do. Anytime I catch one of that thing in chat, I'm overly nice to them to the point of people even if I'm not 100% sarcasm detected, and I'm just like, oh, you know, thank you for the feedback. You know, I really appreciate that. If someone makes a really bad thing about me as a streamer, oh, let me help you on your way. I'll go ahead and ban you here. That way you can find a stream you really enjoy. You know, like it's very surprising sometimes how people will react if you do that kind of stuff. Yeah. I've gotten more people apologizing via PM after for doing stuff like that, and it's just like, dude, I don't care. Like it's you know, no skin off my back. Come on back in. I'll unban you. Whatever. Let's have a good time. You know, it's a lot of people don't understand. They don't understand what they're doing with their words and how impactful it be. And you guys are absolutely right. I mean, you tell a streamer that's on a roll something that's really gonna jab them, even if you don't see a flinch on them. If they see it, it will affect them.
Well, it's not even that.
Or people.
I think a lot of the trolls on Twitch don't go with it or don't go into it with the idea of like, I've got that one thing. It's literally just there's a billion of them each day, and eventually they're going to strike something, right? Like I think that's kind of maybe people are meaner than I hope. Maybe they do go with the intention of striking that chord, and I'm just completely wrong.
There are multiple ways I deal with people trolling or trying to say negative things and stuff like that. I will do that. I will kill them with kindness, or I will like completely flip it around and stuff like that. It is a case by case basis on the person and even my mood. I'll admit too, like for most of the time, my guard's pretty up and it's pretty well there. And my I've been doing this for a long time, so it's not new to me, to have any sort of success being an online personality or a caster or content creator. You do have to have thick skin. That's just a general rule. But it's a case by case basis. And I will sometimes that guard will drop down, and I will some will say just the one thing that'll get to me, and I do my best not to flip out at them, and I don't flip out at them. If anything, if I'm at that point, I know enough, I'm smart enough to just be like, all right, let's just get them out of there. Don't even acknowledge them. Or, it's different. Like, I'm not saying that every time I see somebody say something hurtful or trolly or whatever, I just be like, get the fuck out of here. Like that's not the case at all. It's definitely a case by case basis, and my mood definitely does affect it. But I will say definitely experience having doing this for a long while, you get a lot of different ways to deal with it, and it's much easier to shrug off someone saying just something in the chat because you're doing your thing. Like let them affect you and let them mess with what you're currently doing. Then they've won.
Sure.
That's what they wanted. That's what their intent was.
I think it's look, go then I'll go.
I do that so often when there's one comment on Twitter, in the chat, on Reddit, something like that, and I will read this one thing, and I will sit there and let them win, knowing I'm letting them win, which makes it even worse.
In what sense what do you mean by let them win? Like,
what do you do? Like, elaborate on that. Give us like a hypothetical. You don't have to use something. Okay, dwelling on it, I guess.
Like something they say like will affect me. Like more often than not, like I can deal with hecklers. That doesn't bother me. But there's like one thing that will hit me, and I'll sit there and just think about it and think about it and think about it, and just a million awesome comments will never compare to that one that just pushed that one fucking button you have, and you just sit there and I'm just sitting in a chair just going, motherfucker, I'm gonna find you, motherfucker, I'm gonna find you.
Yeah.
You know,
And I will
then you
kill
just
you.
sit there but that's the thing, and it makes you even more sad because you're letting them do this to you.
Right. The thing that and I don't know the way around this. I don't know how to fix this, but I wish when you deleted a message on Twitch, two things I wish didn't happen. One, I wish you couldn't click on it and still read it. And two, I wish that everyone else did not see that a person was banned, because then immediately in the chat it becomes, why was that person banned? What did he do? Why is it in sub mode?
What did he just say?
Right.
And
Yeah,
as
people
a
hone in on
streamer,
that.
I'm just like,
For sure, yeah.
I don't fucking care. Like, stop. Just move on.
It should, yeah. You almost want it just to be completely erased. Like, it's
Exactly. You
just
just
gone.
want
The
it
line is
gone.
gone.
Yeah. And I
almost-
understand
I
why.
think I would prefer that,
And
to
erased
be
from
honest.
existence.
Yeah.
I think I would prefer that, because it is, yeah. People see something in chat, and obviously people come to the stream to watch us and do stuff like that. But a large part of why Twitch is so successful and why people hang around is
It's
because of that
spotlighted.
chat.
Yeah. And
People hang and are laser focused on that chat, so they'll see if something happened like that, and people will bring it up, and
Yeah.
you know, then you have to be like, oh, your mods will be like, oh, just, you know, let it go, whatever.
Yeah.
And that's part of the reason too why, like, I tell my mods, you know, if something happens like that, just get rid of it, get it out of the chat, don't acknowledge it any further, you know.
Yeah, and there's always going to be one guy that's like, "Oh, why was he banned for saying X?" And that's the rough thing. The other thing that I want to say is, I think it's we're in a very, not privileged, but we're in a very special place that, you know, we do have a chat that is constantly moving. I have no idea how someone with, you know, 200 to 500 viewers can do it to where that chat does not move upward, or that comment does not move fast enough to
Something
get it
will
out of
stick
there.
around, yeah.
Yeah, like to all the streamers that, like, you know, 50 to, I don't know, probably 700 viewers, I am so sorry that you have to deal with that, because that shit is fucked up where it's always right there and you can't do anything about it, and then it becomes like a major topic in the chat why X person said X comment or what it means, or et cetera, et cetera. I don't know.
It's fuel for a fire.
It really
Just
is,
having
yeah.
it sit
And
there.
it's so
waiting
shitty.
to be ignited. Yep.
And I don't know how to help you with that. I
And
wish
you know what?
you
It
could.
goes back with what I said. Like, as you've been doing it for a long while, it gets easier to deal with that stuff like that. So it's I get doubly fucked, because it's like, you're a new streamer, you potentially a new streamer, or whatever, with that viewership, and you have to deal with seeing these potentially awful messages just staying in the chat there.
Yeah.
But that's part of the reason too why it pays to have great mods.
Yeah, mods
Get
are
some
pretty
friends and stuff, like, even if you're just starting out, like, get a friend or something like that who's just a good friend of yours that will hang out and be a mod for you, you know, someone that you can trust like that. You guys talked about it on the, I believe, the live episode of Drop Frames when at PAX. You guys stressed about good mods, and that is absolutely a giant thing that is very, very important. It's paramount. Like, you need to have good mods, even just starting out, because people will still come in, and even if you have like 10, 20, 30, 40, 100 viewers, that's going to be there, and you need to have someone to deal with that, or people to deal with that, because you got to worry about streaming.
Yeah, I think, does stress kind of fit into this conversation a little? Because I feel like
Yeah,
depression
Sure
is
does.
something that
sure it does.
it can be caused by so many
Stress
things.
leads to depression.
Yeah,
this is all the pre-depression stuff we're talking about now.
Like, I think stress is something that's very prevalent, and also boredom is something for me that leads into depression very quickly, because, like, when I'm bored, I start thinking about all the fucked up shit that I shouldn't be thinking about.
Right, yeah, your
And it
mind
just-
wanders.
Yeah, and it just goes straight to being depressed.
Mine's the same way too. Yeah, absolutely.
And so I think that's
Or you're
why.
an analyzer, man.
Yeah, and Co, you've spoken about this a little bit before, and you've alluded to it. And so, with that in mind of, like, boredom, and with the idea of, like, growing a stream, there was a point, and feel free to just take over whenever. But you were streaming what, like 16 hours a day, or what was the crazy schedule you had once upon a time?
Yep. So basically, what happened was when I first started on Twitch, I was lucky enough to have a big amount of success. I had 150 average viewers at the end of my first month on Twitch. I thought, great, up and up. This is awesome. We'll just keep going up until, we get the 3,000 plus I saw my idols having at that time. Great. So I took a week off, and I went out for a family occasion. And when I came back, while I had been gone, the game I'd been playing mainly at that time had this huge falling out on Twitch because of this huge controversy. It was a game called Neverwinter. It was an MMO at the time. And I for over a 2-month period, basically what happened was, not understanding Twitch, not understanding how it worked, not understanding anything, I streamed pretty much whatever I wanted. I streamed games, because, right, you stream games on Twitch, no problem. It'll still work. And I played, probably 20 different games, 10 to 20 hours a day, any random time. I slept and I streamed for literally 2 months straight. And the problem was not understanding Twitch. I'll never forget the last day that this happened. It was a 16-hour stream. The most viewers I had was 27 for the day. And at the end of my 16-hour stream, I had lost 4 followers. And at that point, I just kind of, I remember turning off the stream and I was sitting there in front of the computer and I was like, I just did this for 16 hours and I'm further behind now than when I started. And at that point, I was like, you know what? This isn't going to work. This. It can't tell me clearer that I was not meant for this.
Right.
And
wait, what?
Oh Lord, all my stuff just disappeared.
You broke it.
Why did? What?
Why'd you do this?
Skype's just like, you need Skype Premium to make a group video call. What?
Yeah.
Bork. But yeah.
Interesting.
So
Zeke, turn your cam
keep
back
going.
on. I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah, continue. Yeah.
Okay. So
Figure
anyway,
it out.
but anyway, so I at that point spent a couple weeks. Oh, and by the way, speaking of depression, I can't really tell you what doing that kind of schedule married will do. I was laser focused because again, I didn't understand how I was working harder and getting less of a pullback. So I was thinking I need to work more. I need to put in more hours. Mm-hmm. And, meanwhile, my wife is sitting here going, this is like, she saw before I did. She was like, this is crazy. Like, you realize, I lost weight. I was not doing well. I was actually, ignoring very mandatory life things that I needed to be doing because I was so focused on what the hell is going wrong. This doesn't make any sense. And it all came down to one phrase, which I remember watching a Disney movie when I was a kid, working smarter, not harder. Mm. And, I at one point sat down with my wife and I was like, look, I'm gonna redo how I do this. This is not how I'm supposed to do it. I'm doing it wrong. And at that point, over the course of 2 weeks, I realized that I had to change everything. The whole way I did I was not doing it right. Oh God, what just happened? But anyway, so yeah, what is going on?
Everything's okay. What are you talking about? Nothing's wrong.
It's just production, man. Don't
look
the
behind
offline
the curtain.
Skype face. You guys got to stop making references to it. It's just gonna happen anytime someone's camera's not there. But yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think if there's like any, like Zeke or Gassy, like, and even Co. Like, is there something that we haven't spoken about that is an issue for you when it comes to this? Or maybe a remedy or anything, yeah, really.
That's ahead, what I was kind of moving towards is how do I personally get over it? Because sometimes it just gets like everything gets overwhelming. Like I have too much stuff to do on my off time, and I end up getting paralyzed by all the stuff that I have to get done on my like day off or days off or whatever, and I end up doing absolutely goddamn nothing because there's just too much shit to accomplish, and I don't know where to start.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For the last year, I've had a 2-step process that helps me get into the mindset of work and doing what you got to do, and it seems very simple, but it's helped me a ton. The step 1, clean self. Go take a shower, clean yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Go get in the shower. You stink. Clean up because you can.
I can't tell you how much that's
Or
even
a shower will actually change everything. If you take a shower at the beginning of every day, your day will be better.
It will be better.
Skype's doing
absolutely.
It again.
Why is it doing this?
It's never done this before.
It's stuff like this that stresses us out, man.
It stresses me out real
Everything is
bad.
awful.
Actually, we could talk about that
properly. But you guys don't shower, do you?
Oh, yeah, I shower.
Yeah, it's like the whole
shower every morning.
I shower with the pressure of the.
You guys aren't doing it right.
It's almost to the point where it's going to take my skin off. No, I'm just kidding. It's that's a very small thing that you know maybe a lot of people haven't even considered, but like I don't like casting. I don't like recording. I have recorded and stuff like that when I'm not, and I can do it, or I'm talking about the YouTube side or whatever. But like just having a shower and being like clean can change my mood immensely.
Yeah.
Like you're not doing yourself any favors by just being lazy and staying. Like even if you don't want to take a shower, even if you don't like showers or anything like that, just do it. Force yourself to do it.
Yeah. I think kind of in the same line of what you were saying, Zeke. For me, I've started doing like a 25-minute workout every day, and I've been doing it for like the past 6 months. And even just like we have a job to now. Your camera just came back on, Co. It's still grayed out though for some reason. We have a job that is in a room that's most of the time dark or super well lit with the shades, the windows like closed down because you don't want that extra light that's not going to match the same light color as the rest of you. And with that in mind, like just going outside on a daily basis can change your mood, at least for me, completely. I even like started taking vitamin D just to help out with like getting that on a daily basis, and it's changed my mood 100%. Just because like the act of streaming is such a private and insular thing when it comes to the actual job, not the being on a stream in front of 1,000 people. But that's kind of like how I've coped with it. And I think it goes in the same line of thought as you, Zeke, where take a shower every day. Like that's it's a good thing to do because it'll solidify like the start of your day, or that you are doing something in your brain and reinforces that. That's the way I look at it, at least.
And that, I mean, that's like the first step directly correlates with the second step. First step is clean self, and the second step is clean house.
Yeah.
Pick up. If you live in a depressing place, it makes you depressed. It makes you like not want to do anything because you got all this garbage or clothes, whatever, laying around everywhere. And once those two things are done, if you like sit down after you are clean and your house is clean, and you look, everything else seems way more accomplished.
Yeah, it's true.
Yep. No, another thing that really helps, and I think this ties into both what JP and Zeke are saying, is the importance of having schedule. I know that especially in the 2 months that I was not doing it right, I was streaming every minute I was awake until I was too tired to stream, and then I'd go to sleep, wake up, and do the same thing. There was no time.
Right.
It was totally random if I'd be on or not. So when I sat down and really made the schedule, and that included showering for some reason, it really kind of made everything else fall in place, because then you start getting free time, and then you're like, oh, I'm not streaming during this free time. What can I do that would be somewhat constructive? And all of a sudden you're filling in these gaps with things that you may not normally do a lot of times, and you're running all these errands that you've been putting off. And it can really, really help everything. And this is just kind of like a general thing, not just around streaming, but having schedule in a life that may not normally have it. People that work from home, people that are jobless, stuff like that, can really just make everything go a lot better.
Yeah, that's something that helped me pretty early on. Was like I didn't have a schedule. It was like, hey, I guess I'm awake, I'll stream. It was bad, like nailing down a schedule, and I went kind of to the extreme where it was actually by like every 30 minutes I had something that I was scheduled to do, not so much with other people, but just like, all right, in these 30 minutes I'm going to answer emails, in these 30 minutes I'm going to work on X. And now I don't particularly use that anymore, but it gave me structure, and with that I kind of that's how I go through the days, with that structure. And that's what helped me. Maybe that's a certain type of personality that will benefit from that, or maybe it won't help everyone.
Yeah. A lot of what we've said too, and like advice, is not necessarily going to work with every single person. Like, so everything that you're hearing us say, regardless it's from JP, me, or Co, like we're all giving our own personal take on what works for us. It may not work for you, what I will talk about going on working smarter and not harder. Like there was probably several years back or whatever, like since I have been doing this for a long time, one thing I don't think we've really talked about is, one, we have obviously we have a job that is heavily affected by mood. There are other jobs out there that you can do, like you can work at Home Depot and stock boxes and stuff like that when you're in a bad mood. When your job is to portray and be portray a good mood and be entertaining and stuff like that, suddenly the thing like that's happening in your life that's stressing you out is super affected because you're under a microscope. People can see every little bit of what you're doing, and if your mood's fucked up, it's going to come across. What I realized that I had to do was to set limits for myself. I
Right.
needed to have weekends off because we have a job where it feels like fun. You know, it's very easy to forget that you're working when you're streaming and stuff like that, because going back to what we were saying, it's such a good feeling when you are streaming and stuff like that. There is so much of it. There is such a thing as too much of that I learned for myself personally. You can, you know, if you don't set certain limitations for yourself, I'm not saying it has to be like weekends off or whatever, but it is very easy for us to just overwork. Like, I'm sure you can relate to that. You did the 16-hour cast and stuff like that, what we just talked about.
Well, like you're just talking about dropping days. I had a very rough transition where I had to hard cut myself off every day at 6. I would get up in the mornings at 8, and I would want to stream all day, but I had to setting schedules doesn't only mean setting beginnings. That's a big key thing, and I completely agree with you. It's a great point.
Yeah, because I mean, I realized too that I didn't have any time for social life. I didn't have any time to hang out to even just walk my dog or hang out with Renee or anything like that. I didn't have time to do that. I didn't have a social life outside of just me being on the computer and stuff like that. And like JP said, sometimes it's good to just get out there, but to like just go outside. But now it's been so much better that I actually allocate the weekends. I mean, sometimes I will still, this doesn't say that I won't stream sometimes on the weekend if I have nothing going on or whatever. But knowing that I'm setting that time aside to just be social and have, you know, time with my friends and stuff like that has improved my mood greatly.
Yeah.
Another thing I will say, and it's a super simple thing. You see this right here? This is a little notebook that I have right next to me. It just says tasks at the top. It has the date, and it has different things that are important out of the day that I want to get done. So I physically write it down, and then I can check it off. For me, that works for me because it's really satisfying, and I want to be able to have that ability to check it off and scratch it out. Then it makes me feel accomplished and stuff like that. However you want to do that, you can do it digitally or whatever. For me, it's important for me to like physically write it down so that way I can see it and it's on my desk and it's looking at me the entire time.
Yeah.
So little things like that I do help me, you know, stay organized and help set limits for myself, and also just, you know, I get in a way schedule out my day.
Yeah, scheduling and like you said, checklists are also another thing. Like if I have a bunch of stuff that's built up and it's causing me a ton of stress, just thinking about like, oh, I really need to do taxes. I need to get that contract signed. I need to talk to X person. I need to plan that show. Like 15, 20 different things I got to do. If I put them in a checklist thing in order of like completion and just start marking them all off, like the stress I can literally feel leave my shoulders one by one as I knock that off. So I think that's a great thing that I didn't even realize until you said it, like how much that's benefited me. But yeah, just small things like that. Like there's so many different things that can impact your mood on a daily basis, and pinpointing the bad things is probably one of the best things you can do to start off with. And it could be anything. It could be, you know, maybe you walk by, you take a different route to a place that you go that the sign really pisses you off. Don't see that sign anymore. Who knows what it is? Like, just finding that type of shit has always
identify
helped
things
me.
that you know are gonna affect your mood and stuff like that, and try to cut them out.
Yeah, and the other thing too is I've been lucky enough to have friends that I can go to and have like word vomit with, and just like say blah 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 is happening to me. But I actually, for a while there, it got to a point where it was actually detrimental to the friendship. And it took me a long time to realize that, you know, that friendship has actually just become the two of us bitching about stuff.
Right.
And it was such a negative experience that was constantly taking up so much time of the day that I just had to like tell the person, like, I'm really sorry, but I can't have a conversation with you right now because it's only going to be negative. And I can't have that right now. So it was being able to like realize that was happening was also something that really changed. And now we're the person that I'm speaking out specifically, we're fine. Like we both realized that it was terrible doing that. But having like a way to talk about stuff like that openly can actually help a lot, more so than you would think.
And touching on that subject, you brought up something that I would love to get out there to anyone who's watching. Just a minor backstory. I went through a period in my life where I felt like I was clinically depressed. And it got to a point where I went to a doctor and I said, hey, this is what's going on. This is how I'm feeling. And I grew up with this, so I was familiar with the symptoms and the signs and stuff like that. but I wasn't sure if they applied to me or I was applying them to it or whatever. And I'm of the opinion that like drugs are too easy to get from doctors and stuff like that. So I told him that. I said, if you think that I should just diet and exercise, and I'll do that. Or if you think that a prescription to some sort of drug or, pill or whatever would help my situation and you think it's right for me, I'll do that as well. I'll take your advice, do whatever. He prescribed me a generic version of Celexa for a little while, and I took that for about a year, and it really, really helped. I went off of it, and I feel fine now. I feel normal now. But back then, I was having awful suicidal thoughts and stuff like that, and they were all going through my head. The point I'm trying to make is you have to be proactive about it.
Yeah.
Talk to somebody. Talk to anybody about it. Don't sit there and just be depressed or be sad or be stressed. Be proactive about it. Go out and do something about it. I don't care who you talk to. Just make sure it's not like someone who can like go back and forth with you about it, and don't hold it in is something that I really want to get out there, because that leads to all kinds of bad things. Drugs, suicide, all kinds of stuff. So get it out. Be proactive about it.
Yeah, especially like I have an addictive personality, so for a while there it was like, hey, I'm feeling depressed, I'll have a drink. And I actually have alcoholism in my family, like it runs in my, and I realized that right off the bat. I was like, well, I can't actually do that anymore. Like that's gonna really fucking destroy me later on.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever really gotten to the point where I felt like I was like an alcoholic, but for sure, talking about that, like doing fucked up Friday every week, like that's one day every week where people expect me to get pretty messed up or whatever, at least like have a decent amount of drink, right, where I'm, I get buzzed or drunk or whatever. And for a while there, I realized I was just like, I was having some drinks and stuff like that before, but like, oh, I'm not really that sleepy right now. I'm gonna I'll have a whiskey and Coke or something like that. Or, I drink throughout the week and stuff like that. And that was one thing I really needed to analyze for myself and be like, all right, you should probably cut back on that, because if you're doing that already throughout the week and you're going out with friends and stuff like that throughout the week and you're drinking and stuff like that, and then you're going to just punch the shit out of your liver sometimes, on Friday, that's not healthy. That's not good. Yeah. And moreover, it also helped me, like I've lost a little bit of weight too. Like I wasn't actually like super overweight or anything like that, but it just helped me lose weight and be a little overall healthier and more energy, I guess. Like,
energy is a pretty big thing too.
Yeah,
all this.
Absolutely. Because if you are casting for 6, that's something I think a lot of people still don't actually realize. Like
how much?
Like, you're just sitting there. You're sitting there in your chair and you're playing games and you're talking into a microphone. How much energy does that actually take? Do it.
You don't realize how much it takes until you do it.
Cast for 6 hours.
There's physical fatigue and there's mental fatigue.
There's mental. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like we are trying to. Like I've told people, like I don't necessarily have a personality when I'm casting. I like to think it's still myself, but it's myself a little bit more energized, and I'm trying to put on a show still. Sure. It's still me. It's still my personality, but it's just increased a little bit. Like the energy level and stuff like that increased just a little bit. And when you do that and you're putting on a show actively, trying to be entertaining, trying to be witty, trying to be funny and stuff like that for 6 hours, 8 hours, 10 hours, however long you're doing it for, you will hit that, like I will hit the stop broadcasting button and go, I will sink into my chair and just be like, all right, I'm good. And this doesn't, and I don't want, some people take that as like, oh, well, you're just being fake then. No, not at all. Like it's mentally exhausting. It is exhausting. If you don't believe me, do it. Try it out. Yeah. See how it feels.
There's parts of me where I feel worried. For example, like every once in a while on Wednesdays, I think drop frames for whatever reason more than any other show, and it might just be because of all this, like finding the different broadcasts, stuff like that. It takes a lot out of me. Like we'll finish the show and I'll just feel fucking drained. And then I'll do another show sometimes that Wednesday evening, and I'll just tell people on the show, like, can we only do 3 hours tonight? Because like, I feel like I'm going to pass out and I don't want to on air. And so I'll end that way. And being able to recognize that is also something that was super obvious to anyone else that was looking from the outside in. But to me, it was just like, That's just how it goes. Like knowing my limits is something I think is knowing your limits is super important as well.
And someone brought this up in the chat, and I do want to address it. I have worked construction. My dad actually owns a construction company, and I've worked for him for a long time. And I worked 40 hours a week doing roofing, masonry, like all this kind of shit. And I've done streaming for 40 hours a week. Now, when I come home from doing construction work, my bones ache, my muscles ache, everything, like my feet hurt and all that kind of stuff. When I get done streaming, my head hurts. Like it's a completely different kind of stress that you put on yourself, and you feel. I don't know. I feel more fatigued after a tough day of streaming because I put myself out there, and if it's a bad day of streaming, then there's way more emotional toll that it takes on you than doing construction. Because like, if you go to a job that you just work, then the job's done. When you do a job like this, the job's not done when the camera's off. You're thinking about what just happened, how can I do better, or like how much that sucked, how good it was. Like all these things are just swirling around your head, and you just want to like shut it off, and that's like totally different kind of thing. I get it, but it's just different like parts of you that are being stressed and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. You were trying to get in?
Yeah, just real quick, I wanted to throw in there because I saw some people talking about this in chat, and Zeke brought up a really, really good point about needing to talk to people. And one of the things I wanted to just kind of add into that is a lot of times it's not that you need to find, well, there's two things. First of all, it's not that you need to find someone you necessarily know. If you go to Google and you Google depression hotline, there are some really good websites right now with some really great volunteers. You can chat with them, you can call them, you can text them, like anything that works for you. Sometimes you just need to put what you're thinking on paper. It doesn't even necessarily mean that you need a tangible response from someone you care or love about. Sometimes you just need to process and work through things you're dealing with in your life. So just understand, if you're sitting here going, man, I wish I could talk to somebody, but I don't have anyone to talk to, use these resources. There's people, in some cases, these are tax funded. These are thousands and thousands of dollars going to resources for you so you can talk to someone and you can help get better. So that's the first thing I want to say. And the second thing, I really want to, I was debating if I was going to say this or not, but I felt that this is a good time to say it, and it's important, and I want to make sure people understand the context of what I'm saying. But I want to make sure people understand that streamers, we love our viewers, and we love what we can do for you, and we love what you do for us. But I want to make sure people understand we are not the best person to come to if you're having these issues in your life. And the reason I say this is every so often I'll get these messages that are really heavy.
Yeah.
And it's the kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
It's the kind of stuff that I read over once and I'm just like, holy shit.
Yeah,
like,
you're stressed out beyond belief.
Yeah, like this is so much beyond what I could possibly help with. Like me replying to this with a few sentences is, this is the kind of stuff, if you have these issues, I'll tell you exactly what I say when I respond to these people. Look, I feel what you're going through, and I'm very sorry about this, but you need to get help from someone who understands and can relate to what you are going through, or at least understands how to deal with the level of anxiety and stress that you're dealing with.
Yeah.
So even though I know this isn't directly related to what we're talking about, I did want to make sure people understand, a lot of times when we come back with viewers that have that kind of stuff, it's not that we don't care. It's that we truly want you to get better, and we know that we're probably not the ones that are going to get you there with our experience. We're not psychiatrists. We're not
qualified to give you. Yeah, exactly right.
We make fart jokes, guys.
We're not qualified.
That's what we do.
Yeah.
We're not qualified. Yeah, it simply comes down to that.
But on that second note, please listen to what Zeke said. And if you are experiencing with this, talk to somebody. It doesn't matter if you're an ex-Army guy, a 15-year-old girl, a 60-year-old man. It doesn't matter who you are or what you do. If you're feeling this way, talk to someone about it.
Yeah.
And let me tell you just a quick follow-up to that. Like, when you guys do tell us, that when I get a message on Tumblr, someone tweets at me or someone says it in the chat and says like, I've been suffering through depression and I really appreciate your stream. You have no idea how much you help me and stuff like that, just escape or like keep my mood up and stuff like that. This is what keeps me going and stuff like that. We see that. we see it all the time, and it absolutely fills me with joy. Like that is a happy side effect of what I've done and what we've all done in us casting and stuff like that. 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever, how long, like years ago, I never would have thought that I would have any sort of effect like that on anyone, like at all. I did this because it was something fun to do. I fell into this job of streaming and doing YouTube as just a hobby. It was something that I liked doing, and then I just did it, and then it ended up being a job. And now it still takes me back and humbles the shit out of me when somebody sends a message like that and says, like, you don't understand how much this helps me and stuff like that. I truly don't like I love it. I love that isn't a side effect and stuff like that. But just know that we do see that stuff, and it helps me too when I'm having a bad day. Somebody sends me a positive message on Tumblr saying, I really appreciate your cast. I've been following you since the beginning, or 2, 3, whatever, however long they've been following me. You guys a lot of times will improve my mood when I'm down without even knowing it. Even if I don't respond, because I can't respond to every single one of them, because that will become, a full-time job.
Right.
And it's just impossible. We can't do it. Sometimes I'll try to respond to some people every now and then, stuff like that, when I have the time to, but know that we do see those messages. Know that I personally do see those messages, and they are very important to me, and constantly give me a check of where I'm at, what I'm dealing with, and have a side effect of just being humbled,
Sorry.
No, I'm done. Go ahead.
Go ahead,
something I read a long time ago in a book.
Well, you fucked up, man.
I know. God, I read a book. One thing that I read in a book that I've always tried to keep with me, and I think it's something that I always keep in the back of my head, and I hope other people will appreciate it as well. But it's the line from the book is, shared pain is decreased and shared joy is increased. So whether you share your joy, it's increased by those you're sharing it with. Whether you share your pain, it's decreased by those you're sharing it with as well. So whenever I feel one extreme emotion or another, I try and remember that, and try and remember like how it works for me,
To just to give an example, or to be the the other side of that, and that everything works differently for certain people. I actually hate those messages because they stress me the fuck out when I don't respond. And I don't respond to very many of them, if any, because I don't know how to respond to that other than just saying thanks. And so I'll see those and I'll just be like, that's cool, and just read a sentence and go to the next one.
That's completely valid, because somebody even said that in chat too. Like, do you sometimes feel responsible and stuff like that? Like, you have to live
immediately
up to
do, and I'm
for
just
sure.
like,
Yeah, no, there is that side of it
away
too.
from me.
What I've learned with it is like I don't respond super in detail or whatever. It's dependent on the message or whatever. Sometimes I will just say, thanks for the kind words. I appreciate it. And that's all. Sometimes that's, for the most part, that's really all they want. You don't have to feel responsible to respond to every single message, because, like I said, that's unreasonable, and for the most part, people know that. And I've said that multiple times. I like to say and reiterate that yes, I do see your guys' messages, and I don't respond to every single one because I just can't.
Yeah, I think the ultimate version of that stress is when you get a big tip, and there's also a message with it, and then I'm just like, I'm done. Fuck it out. I can't deal with this shit right now. But yeah,
I gave you $1,000. You read my message right now.
Yeah. So that's that. If it's okay with you guys, we'll take some questions here, and then we'll wrap up the show.
Yeah.
Peter Lord 92 says, to all of Drop Frames, has there ever been a day where you just wanted to say, fluff this, can't take it, while you were streaming?
Did they actually say fluff?
Yes, they said fluff. I wonder whose community they're from.
On my channel. My channel, we don't say fluff.
I wonder whose community they're from. Huh. Peter Lord 92 Carnage, maybe a new name.
I think so, yeah.
No. Is there ever been a day where you guys have just ended it?
I'll tell you right now, that day that I was telling you about, the 27 day, I don't remember if I actually did, but I sat there and I think I actually uninstalled OBS once. I teetered back and forth on that day if I ever wanted to stream again. I was arguing with myself if it was worth my time, and absolutely, just to be perfectly clear, during my streaming career, I got to a point where I didn't even want to know if I wanted to continue. So if you're a streamer and you're going through that point, it doesn't necessarily mean it's done. It just may mean that you need to, like I did, just pull your bootstraps up, start doing research, figure out what you need to do and do it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that it's over necessarily.
I've definitely ended streams before with the note of saying like, "Hey, I'm not feeling it today. Sorry, I'm dealing with some shit. I'll see you guys tomorrow." Like I've done that.
That's happened.
before.
That's happened to me too. It hasn't happened a lot. It's probably happened. I could say it's probably happened like only I can count it on one hand, but that it has happened where I'm like, you know what? OBS isn't working right. People are being shitheads in chat. You know, like I can't. You know, I didn't say that on cast or whatever, but I just basically was just like, you know, it's not aligning tonight, you know. And sometimes you do have casts like that for whatever reason. Something won't work on OBS, and that's another thing. We don't have to go talk in detail about that, but that's another side of it that we haven't really talked about.
Yeah, that'll ruin
It's just
a day
dealing
pretty
with
quick.
technical issues and stuff like that in stream and how that affects you. Like, for instance, a mic crackling, like I was at the beginning of the show, or you know, things like that. It varies on how people deal with it, but for me, and I'm sure for JP as well, because he's super into production and stuff like that, that will drive me insane.
Yeah.
I cannot do a cast with my with my mic crackling and all that
There
and
was
stuff like that, and I know
a-
something's wrong.
There was a period of time when I bought the new computer in November where like nothing would fucking work. And so like I'd start off a cast like, all right, I'm gonna stream. We're gonna play this. 5 minutes in, some fucking broke. I just be like, see you guys tomorrow. I'm done. I'm gonna go kill a fucking chicken. I just got him lined up. I'm just gonna pull the fucking head off because I can't take this shit. So yeah, like tech difficulties, I think are probably the number one thing that, for me, just put me on tilt immediately.
And it is just a reality of streaming. No matter how many times you test something and how many times if you did like a test beforehand and it works fine, there's still that possibility that it will go wrong and it'll mess up.
Yeah.
And as much as even if it's something tiny, like a little bit of crackling on my mic or something like that, for me personally, like when somebody says in chat, my mods are like, "It's not that bad, just keep going." I'm like,
That's all you think about.
I gotta fix it. No, because I'm gonna hear it like the way I'm set up. I don't know how you guys are, but like I hear myself all the time. Like it's all fed right into my headphones. So and it is absolutely a quality control thing. I want to know if something's wrong. I want to know how my levels are. I want to know if something is wrong, and also for stupid stuff like that, so I can hear that and hear the the effect. But mainly it's there because I want to monitor the quality of what I'm saying, what I'm putting out, and all that.
Sometimes, like as far as like giving it up, I don't know, giving it up for good, but giving it up for the day, I'll have to be told by like mods or people that I trust. Like they'll have to like type it in chat, like, "Dude, you are being just shitty. You are being a shitbag to everybody who's coming in. No one's having any fun. You're letting everything get to you. Maybe hang it up for the day, you know." And it takes a couple of times, but sometimes I have to pay attention to that and go, "You're right. I should shut it off for the day. Nothing is being accomplished here, and I'm not having a good time. Thank you for telling me, because I wasn't realizing it or whatever. I just power through. You know, I'm Catholic. I'll deal with shit being wrong forever."
Yeah, that's true.
But I will say though, during my streaming, like when actually things picked up, and after that other period, I fought with Time Warner Cable publicly for about a year, and what had happened was they had a bad piece of hardware at a data center and they ended up replacing every possible thing they could between me and like 5 nodes down the road, swearing up and down they were fixing it every time. And I would drop connections, I would drop frames for almost a year. And there were some
the name of the
days
show.
during that-
Sorry, go ahead.
No, what was that?
I said he said the name of the show.
The titular line.
Yeah.
But there were, I mean, when you're streaming, and like this goes to the hardware issues, when you're streaming and your stream drops for the 3rd time in an hour, and you want nothing more than to continue doing it, but you know for every second that you're going to be online that at any point it could just disappear. Like there's very little situations in streaming that are more stressful than something like that.
Yeah, that's probably the most stressful thing.
Yeah, I mean, you're just staring at your upload, wondering, hey, are they hearing me right now? People notice that you're just staring at a monitor for the whole show. Just like, oh, are we still going? Okay.
Yeah, even
it changes everything.
Just the idea of, and I hate because this is a show name, but just the idea of like dropping a single frame, my mood, no matter, I could fucking be in the best mood in the world, and I drop a frame, and it's just like, are you fucking kidding me right now? Like, am I about to fucking go crazy on whatever the fuck is going on?
Because the worst part is that one frame could be the hole in the dike. You know, like you never know, but it could be the foretelling of the rest of your afternoon being absolute shit.
Yep.
Just flickers to a little bit of orange and a little bit of red for a moment and goes back green. And you're just like,
you don't even drop a frame and just staring at it.
Yeah. Big the Tank asks, how do you guys deal with taking a longer term break and coming back with next to no one checking out the stream? Those are pretty stressful, like going to PAX. I think every streamer goes to that and just like, well, I'm going to lose a couple $100, maybe even a couple $1,000 in the next week.
Couple hundred subscribers.
I'll drink a little bit more.
Drink a little bit more, go a little bit harder during
the Twitch
party.
I think it's actually, there was a time 3 or 4 PAXs ago where it was super impactful on how much you lost. But I think that since streamers have actually been pretty vocal about that, I can't think of a streamer who's not vocal about like, oh God, I hope everything goes okay. Like when I got back from PAX East, it was like a pretty low sub drop. It's gotten a lot better over time for me.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of those are just luck though, because most of it's going to depend on what happened 30 days ago or a month before that time.
Yeah.
So, but like I remember when I first did traveling, it was harrowing. I mean, not coming back and having like that significant sub drop, you know, where you look at your numbers and you're 100, 200, 300 subs down, you know, that it really adds a little layer to traveling that was never there before streaming.
Yeah,
I have to admit. Like every time you're traveling, you're out there walking around, you're going like, you know, I'm paying for this. Like I'm paying professionally for what I'm doing right now. You know, this is, I need to enjoy this. I need to make this work. I need to talk to people. I need to network. Like this needs to count, you know? It's kind of interesting.
It's true.
I've gotten a lot better with, you know, sub drops and stuff like that. I think it's a little bit different for me too, because like I've done YouTube in conjunction with Twitch, so I have the ability to like, you know, upload a video, upload some videos and stuff like that.
Get like 20 videos ready and just be like, well, maybe I'll just.
So that's one thing I can sympathize with, but I can't 100% fully, you know, say that I understand it completely because I'm not 100% full on just Twitch, you know. But I still see the, you know, the sub drop and stuff like that. But the thing is, and it even parallels with just like for people that run commercials and stuff like that. Even just like when you lose viewers because you ran commercials, like it bounces back. Like the general rule is it bounces back. Like people do come back for the most part.
Man, it's a constant struggle because I'll tell you, the most like sub count is you know kind of the lion's share of people who do Twitch. It's the lion's share of what you make is your subscriber count. And I still have not gotten back up to where I was before I left for Burning Man this last year. I'm still struggling to get my way back up there because before I left, there was this huge like sub-train whatever thing that happened. And when I came back, I had lost all of those plus a whole shitload more. And I looked at it after I got back after a week of being off, and I wanted to sink in. I wanted to not cast. I wanted to just sit there and just dwell on and just watch the numbers drop. And I still haven't gotten back to that yet. Like I'm still working my way up, and every time I go to a PAX, it's you know a step back, you know. But
it's a weird thing too, because I think a lot of times streamers will just like there's no goals with any of this, but streamers will artificially make a goal. For example, like Zeke, I'm just gonna throw this out there. It's probably a goal of yours. You're pretty close to 100K, man. Like that's probably a goal.
Yesterday, which was weird.
Yeah, that's probably a goal in your brain. Like,
congrats,
I'm gonna have 100K soon. I don't know when it's gonna happen. And then the stupid part of that is, I got 100K. I'm gonna have 200K pretty soon, guys. Let's work on that. And we kind of like push that onto the community in a sense to like make it a little bit more public, because of course it's a way to help your stream out, right? But like.
But setting goals is how successful people stay successful. It's kind of like the whole American business thing. You're either growing or you're dying. There's never a middle ground.
I mean,
so it's the kind of thing where if you like, I don't know about you guys, but for me, if I'm not working towards something, I'm stagnating. And anytime I meet a goal, the first thing I do is set my next one. And there's definitely an argument there about, well, when do you get to sit back and appreciate?
Right,
You know, like
yeah.
where does the appreciation play into this? If you're always looking ahead, when do you appreciate? Well, that's one of my problems.
Yeah,
I think
don't.
that's a lot of success.
For me,
Don't
like,
Exactly.
For
If you're
me-
appreciating, you're not growing.
yeah, a lot of times I wouldn't make goals, and now I do it because it's good to like grow. But I'll eventually hit X amount of viewers. I just know it's going to happen.
It's never enough.
It's never going to be enough. Like I recognize, and I didn't recognize that until like I talked to someone about it, and they were just like, "Yeah, I don't really know how many Twitter followers I have. Like I think I'm like 150K or something. I don't know." And I was like, "How the fuck do you do that? Like how do you do that, you idiot?" And he's like, I just stopped caring about it, and I'm a much happier person. I'm just like, I'm so fucking jealous of that. Like I don't know how they reached that level, but I would love to be able to do that.
I think I might have said that to you, too.
No one. There's no one that he hasn't been on the show. It doesn't matter.
I bet
Yeah.
there's anyone who has like 3,000 or less subs, like on, and I can only speak for Twitch. But anyone who has 3,000 or less subs, I bet they know within 10 how many exact subs they have at any given time, 24 hours a day. Like if you came to me tomorrow and asked me how many subs I have, I could a week from now, a month from now, I could tell you exactly within like 3 numbers.
Yeah, of course.
Just because it's like I'm not at the point yet where it doesn't matter.
Right.
Oh well, Zeke, it'll always matter, man. I can tell you. I've been
No, as
able
far
to
as
tell you
like
mine
providing
forever.
food and a roof.
That's different.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
that's
it's
actually.
much-
I want to touch on that too. And you asked like or you didn't ask me, but you talking about like how do you get to that mindset of not obsessing about everything like that. And I'll just share what I've always kind of just told myself since I did fall into this as a job. I didn't start out saying, and I still encourage people to not jump into this. This is my own personal opinion, but do not jump into streaming or YouTube or anything like that thinking, I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to be successful with this. This is going to be my job. I'm going to make money. This is what I'm going to do. Do not do that. You're setting
Gotta
yourself
start
up
as
for
a hobby.
failure. You're setting yourself up for failure because if you don't start with like passion and stuff like that and just enjoying it already as it is, then all of the hurdles that you're going to encounter are going to be that much more hard to deal with. So the golden thing that I've always told myself since I started seeing success in YouTube and Twitch and being able to do this as my job is I said, if I can earn enough to provide for myself and put a roof over my head and live comfortably, stop bitching, Max.
Yeah, that's
you're
it's kind of
fine.
always-
You're fine. You're playing video games for a living, and that is much easier said than done. But it's the one thing that I go back to that I've set for myself to remind myself where I came from, where I'm at now. If I can live comfortably, pay my bills, have a place to live, then to be perfectly honest, I don't have a whole lot to be bitching about. That's
But
the
even
one.
that is winning the lottery sometimes.
Yeah.
And what do you mean by that, Co?
What do you mean by that? Yeah, like
Well, I mean,
Like
it's,
having
it's
that
kind of interesting.
mindset?
No, having and I think how important it is, like when someone starts streaming and they start, and this was a mistake I made. I know earlier that I said I started to succeed. I could have gotten so much further, so much faster by not approaching with that mindset. But even if you're just like, oh, I'll just make enough, I'll set my goals low. Just, if I make enough to keep myself going so I can stream, oh, that'll be fine. That's because that's what I did when I first started streaming. I was
I'm
like,
not saying to set your goals low.
You're saying
You can aim
not
big.
to set any goals, right?
What's that?
Like stream as a hobby. That's what I always say too. Never start streaming with success. It's like acting. You can never
Don't
plan
start streaming
Yeah,
with
you
just like you can still have a goal in mind. You can still have a goal in mind, but just be true to yourself and recognize that it might not work out, and it might not be your job, your breadwinner. You know what I mean? Your bread earner. It's not. It might not work out. You need to have that realistic mindset. And I've talked to so many people that don't necessarily, I can sense it when they're talking to me. They don't have that. They're like I quit my job for this, and this really does need to work out. And be like, well, that's kind of already your mistake number one. Do not quit your job for streaming. Like that is
Unless you're
first
already
of all,
successful, yeah.
that is silly. That's setting yourself up for potential for even more failure. Like, because if you do fail at streaming and it doesn't work out, then you don't have your job anymore. Like, I the way I transitioned is I got to a point where I realized that if I quit my job, I could sustain myself with streaming. Like when I was at that point, then I completely committed, and I've seen so many other people do that. That's the smart way of doing it. So I'm not saying that it can't necessarily work out for somebody that just puts everything on the line and, you know, goes all in. I'm just saying in my experience with the successful big YouTubers, whether it be YouTubers or streamers that I've talked to, that's not how they started. Like that's not. And so go ahead. Go ahead. If you have a comment or whatever.
I keep interrupting you. I'm so sorry.
No, I didn't really have any more to say.
But no, well, I was just going to say, like, not only can I not agree with you more, but it all comes back to one of the major influencers of depression in anyone, managing expectations. If you put yourself in a position where you're expecting yourself to succeed, and you put it in a position where, I mean, think about how many streamers are on Twitch. Think about how many of them are actually to a point where they're professional streamers full time. If you approach into that little tiny window with the expectation that let's be honest, I'm going to do whatever it takes to succeed, you're going to do whatever it takes, really hurt the other aspects of your life. And then if you're not lucky enough to be in that little tiny window, you're in a really bad place. And I hate to say it, there was somebody that I knew very closely, a big member of our community. He quit a full-time job to stream, very close to when he got his sub button, expecting everything to just... He then was not able to keep that level to a point where he could even get to a point to partially sustain himself. His job got taken. He couldn't go back to his job. He had to end up taking a lesser job months later. So he lost his track. He lost like all this stuff. And it was all because he really went total focus mode on, oh, I got my sub button. We're good. Let's do this. I'm 100%. He didn't let the dominoes set up first before he started knocking them down. Yeah. And it got to a point where a very real person who was really happy, had fantastic casts, started getting depressed, started getting frustrating. His cast went downhill, lost subscribers. It was a really bad situation. And it was all because those expectations weren't managed. But it's kind of like acting. You know, when you talk about people that fly out to California to do their big acting break, what is the first thing they do? They get that backup job. They do whatever they need to do to make themselves stable so they can make the chances and take the chances they need to maybe be successful. It's the same with streaming. That's exactly how you have to approach it, except unlike acting, you don't have to go anywhere. It's great.
You can still be, the big thing I guess to take away from it is you can still be determined, you can still have lofty goals, and you can still have that driving force behind you to be like, yes, I'm going to succeed. I'm going to do whatever I can to succeed, but do it smart. Tackle it smart. You know what I'm saying? Don't just be like, you know, like you, perfect example there. Just people moving out to LA, living on a hope and a dream. And you know, I'm either going to make it or I'm going to break it. You know what I'm saying? Like, be realistic and understand that if you put that pressure on yourself and you don't have any backup, it's going to be that you're going to fall that much harder if it doesn't work out.
So, question. Did any of you guys work a job when you started streaming as well?
I hate this question.
Yes, I did.
I did. I
was actually in school.
Oh, okay. I was working 50 hours a week and streamed 30. I streamed and sometimes more. I streamed as much as I could with a full-time job. And I did that for many, many months until I finally got my sub button. And then I did it for months after that until I got enough where I could say, all right, I can take the leap. I can take the chance.
Yeah.
And, you know, obviously I got lucky and there's some talent or there's some, you know, whatever involved in that. But I worked at this, you know, I made this happen for myself.
There's luck in anyone making it on Twitch or YouTube or whatever, but there is a substantial amount of work as well. That doesn't discredit what you've done to get yourself where you are at.
Sure.
Yeah.
To expand on why I hate that question, just so people realize, I've never actually worked a real job.
Fuck you, JP.
Yeah, fuck you. All right.
You.
I've never worked.
Silver spoon in mouth.
Little
You
baby
Motherfucker. Let's do the roast of JP right fucking now.
Right now.
It's actually not because like my family's wealthy. My family's actually dirt poor. I just have never worked a real job. Like I worked at MLG and it was a weird thing where like I don't consider it to be a real job. I guess many would. Like I was a show host and producer, but I worked out of a house that was paid for by MLG and like it was a kind of a cush life with that.
Yeah.
And then I quit with really no savings, and I just kind of like worked out and lucked out in Twitch, and then
Yeah, there's a reason you're called King Shit.
yeah, and that worked out. So just so everyone's aware.
Basically, you're just like cruising through life, no problem. Still got those nice little non-calloused hands for the ladies.
Yeah,
Is that
yeah.
where we
I
are?
don't really have any
Okay.
calluses at all.
Yeah.
Actually.
Have you ever
JP's like, what's a callus?
you ever picked up like a box weighing over, I don't know, like 50 pounds, anything like that?
No, I've never
before?
done any
He's
heavy
like,
lifting.
I'm a guy for that. It's cool.
Yeah, I would probably pay someone to lift something that heavy, actually. So
Yeah.
So,
Right.
Max, I'm curious. What did you do before streaming? And,
Before streaming, I hadn't worked a whole lot of jobs, but I worked. First job was a laborer for my friend at the time, my best friend at the time. His dad had a deck building company, so I was a laborer for that for a little bit. After that, I was a busboy in an Italian restaurant, a small Italian restaurant that was run by a family and really stereotypical hothead, short Italian dude with a Napoleonic complex, or whatever it is. So that sucked. And then I worked at Home Depot as a sales associate in the garden department. Max can't work in the garden department. All right, we've got that past it.
Standing outside going,
I actually really enjoyed that job, working as a sales associate, because you get to walk around. You can still, you're not like tied down to like a cashier desk or anything like that. You can just, you get to talk to people and help them solve their problems. You get outside, do some exercise, but it's satisfying at the end of the day. So I've unloaded trees. I've loaded cinder block after cinder block and stuff like that, and whatever mulch and everything. And then after that, I worked as a cashier at the same Home Depot, because it was a full-time position then that they hired me on for that. But being a cashier fucking sucks.
how many
Let me just
years
tell you
is that? Like of all your jobs, but like I guess when did you start streaming?
I started. When did I start streaming?
And when did you start working? I guess is also the other question.
I was always working when I was streaming. I've been streaming since before Twitch is a thing. I was on Justin.tv,
like
and before that I was on
2009.
Ustream.
Yeah.
So it's been a while. I don't know the exact year, but you can ballpark it around that. When Ustream wasn't shit and full of a bunch of ads.
Yeah, about 2009. That's
Yeah,
where
so I was
started,
still streaming. Like I was streaming then. I've always been fascinated with streaming because it's fucking awesome. But yeah, so I did that, and then when I was working as a cashier at Home Depot, that was around the time where it was coming to that point where I'm like, all right, I'm making money. I'm starting to make just as much, if not more. I'm making more than I'm making at Home Depot here, and Home Depot was just cutting into my time. I don't even like being a cashier, so I quit, went full time, and the rest, as they say, is history. So
There you go.
yes.
so how about this? In line with today's topic, what would you guys do if everything crashed, everything went away?
We'll do this as the final question because it's a good one. We'll start with Gassy because he's the guest and we need some time to think about it.
Put it on me.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess I'll follow up and be like, what are the circumstances? Like Twitch blew up, YouTube blew up, like none of
Is
this exists
streaming
anymore.
not an option anymore? Is that what you're saying?
Because realistically, like looking at that scenario, like there's no way Twitch and YouTube would both blow up at the same time unless the internet got obliterated.
Let's say legislation goes through that makes all content put on any site sole property of that site, and there was no way we could stream on the internet because none of the money would go to us. It would only go to those sites.
There you go.
Okay.
YouTube, Twitch, anywhere you would stream would be applicable, including a startup you would do.
Yep.
So you couldn't do YouTube anymore, and you couldn't do Twitch anymore, and you couldn't.
Nothing. That's right.
Huh. I suppose what I would do is find out, first of all, how much of my online following and stuff like that is still relevant, where I could apply it elsewhere if I could, because regardless of that, I would be able to still use that influence, stuff like that, because at this point I'm an online personality or whatever. And I would assess where that is, assess the damage, and see what's a viable option in the future. Then I would probably reach out to contacts and people that I know in the industry and see about openings for on-camera talent, or I would do that. I would try to stay in the industry and stuff like that, and see if there's any sort of job that I could fill for some sort of company or something like that with media or gaming. If that's not the case, though,
what would be like the normal
job?
Normal job.
Okay, that's fine. I would take the money that I have saved up and apply it probably to getting some more training and schooling in media and broadcasting. I would probably pursue maybe radio or television, something like that. And then probably have a regular part-time job where I could while I pursued that.
I think I'd probably go work at a news agency and run a TriCaster or producer role for that. With a journalism degree, I could. That's what I was originally going to do, kind of, anyways. Was be a shitty journalist.
I always knew I was going to be doing something in media, like something with.
Sure. Yeah.
That was like my aha moment, you know, when I was in. I don't know, like high school, like senior year, something like that in high school. That was when I really figured it out because I wanted to get into computers and IT, and then I realized that was shit, and I wasn't going to do that. I realized it wasn't what I thought it was, but I always wanted to do something with technology, media, and if it involved like, you know, voice acting or radio or being
we could probably be a
talent.
We could be like a radio DJ duo.
Yeah, let's do a radio show. JP, let's do a radio show. If this
you
all
could
falls
handle all the
through,
stupid effects and like the horn and shit, and I'd be the straight guy.
you know what I've said? I've said before a lot of times. I don't even know if it's out there, but with how much gaming has grown and stuff like that, I'm really fucking surprised there isn't a gaming radio show on like Sirius XM
On
or
Sirius,
something.
yeah. There's really not actually.
Coming to you live this morning, we got JP and the Spaniard. JP and the Spaniard live.
JP and the Spaniard. He doesn't even get a name. It's just the Spaniard.
JP and the Spaniard.
Jesus
Everybody's
Christ.
put on your weird and wacky morning show voices. And then let's cut to Satan with weather.
It's burning. Everything's burning. There's fire and hellfire everywhere.
I'd be into it.
Back to you, Spaniard.
I'm gonna hit up Sirius after this.
God damn it, Satan. Why you always gotta be frontin'?
We're gonna have a Sirius channel pretty soon. I'm doing it.
Yeah,
JP and Gassy in the morning. That's the show name.
because radio is such a successful industry. Someone just
they're
said that in the
making so
chat,
much
but
money.
yeah, well, I mean that's why Twitch and stuff is so successful because it's new media. It's different.
Well,
We're
Sirius,
combining right now. There's a visual aspect to it right now, and I know radio tries to do that.
Sirius.
but-
Well, when you say radio, are you talking like AM, FM? Because Sirius actually does make really good money.
No, yeah, Sirius is good. That's
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Sirius is actually like people listen to that shit all the time.
Auto installed in like every new car.
Yeah,
Yeah,
And then they
exactly.
get you with the
Right.
monthly
They
fees.
They make
right
great
after.
money.
Yeah.
But if you're talking like typical radio station, yeah, like those guys, with exceptions, don't make a whole lot of money because I know people that have gotten into radio and stuff like that. And
Yeah. Gassy, I'll talk to you after this about a new show I want to do.
Gas.
yeah, we'll talk
I
about it.
want to be the drunken dwarf or whatever. I want to be the guy.
I want to be the drunken dwarf.
Do whatever. Yeah.
You guys haven't answered this question, so go ahead.
Yeah,
I gave
Cohen,
my
Zeke,
answer.
You got to answer. What would you
Zeke, you
do
wanna
if this
take it?
all went to shit?
Me?
Yeah, whoever.
Zeke.
I'd take a shot at acting. I would pack up, move to LA, and really give it a shot and do as many auditions as I could, and try and break into whatever commercials, television, movies, stage. I don't care. That's my passion is entertainment. It always has been. I just found an avenue where it actually pays me and I can make a living off of it. And Ko was saying before, I take my broadcast as entertainment first. Entertainment, it's a show. Hopefully that comes through, that I do put forth the effort to make it entertainment. But sorry, that's what I would do, would be that. And if that failed, I'd probably do fucking menial jobs until, for the rest of my life until my break came. If it never did, then I maybe would never have one.
Cat. Sorry. I had to acknowledge the cat.
Well, we menial job, like just work.
The best job I could find with
Yeah.
the education that I have, which is minimal.
Gotcha. Co?
Well, the first would be pornography, of course.
Right,
I would
naturally.
transition to pornography, and then most likely thievery or arson. I haven't really decided which one of those.
I've stood next
but in
to
reality,
a journal and let me wow,
the
it's art.
first, I actually I'm lucky enough right now. I actually before the streaming thing, I started a game project that snowballed into a 40-person team, and now I'm a part owner of a game studio. So thankfully, that would help there. But in terms of what I would do, pretty much very similar to what Gassy said. I would network. I would start talking to pretty much everyone I've met in my travels, all the people that I've met through Twitch, see what Twitch was doing. Like it would just be at that point a spider web of seeing what's available and where I could go. I'd love to be involved in something with community or something like that. But to be perfectly blunt, I mean, I delivered pizza for 4 years. You know, I'm the kind of guy that could do that and be happy too. Like you know, you give me a good job with decent people, and I'm going to be happy. That's one of the reasons I love streaming. It's a great job. I like doing it, and there's lots of amazing people around. And if
It
you
would
can
be
find
hard
a
to
job
go
like
back,
that,
but it would be a hard transition. But it's not something that I don't think I couldn't do. You know.
absolutely. Absolutely. So, I mean, you know, I love driving personally. I'm the kind of guy that'll, if I'm really just having a really hard day, I might just go for a drive. If I need to, I'll find a reason to go run out and get something. So, I mean, you know, I'm simple at the end of the day. I think a lot of broadcasters are, weirdly enough. Even though a lot of us are very driven, I think that there's a lot of, you know, people that really, we're gamers. You know, we're all gamers. We're not the people going out and putting ourselves out and doing that kind of stuff. So we're, you know, we enjoy things that the gamers enjoy, and
none of us
times we work
started
jobs with that kind of stuff.
None of us started being super crazy successful. I mean, you can say with the exception of a handful of people, like, you know, rapid success or success sometimes does mess with somebody's head and ego and stuff like that. For a large part, though, you know, we've all kind of started, with the exception of JP, and, you know, never working a day in his life. We've all kind of built this up, you know, and we can kind of have a healthy appreciation for what we have.
Unless
I don't have a.
Unless you're JP. Unless you're JP.
Unless you're a sheltered baby, then you're real, like me, you know, Gassy and Zeke.
There you go.
Well, okay, JP, I will say this in your defense for
I don't need
being
your
that
defense.
for being that kind of guy, you're remarkably well adjusted.
I don't even know what that
Okay.
means. What?
Well, for being a guy who hasn't had to
He's
like
not an
Oh,
asshole.
oh, okay.
work, you know,
Gotcha.
you're actually remarkably down to earth. How about that?
Okay, I understand. I was just like, what?
Yeah.
I didn't know what the fuck you're saying, but I understand now.
Compliment.
Yeah. No, I don't do well with compliments, man.
Get
So,
about it.
when you have a billion people tweeting "fuck JP" all day, you just get used
I
to it.
don't. I'm gonna take what you're saying as disrespect because I don't understand it.
Yeah, that's what. That's immediately what happened. That's immediately what happened. All right, let's do some shout outs and wrap up the show. We're a little bit over here.
Sure.
I think we actually talked about it for almost 3 hours. So
Damn.
thanks, Gassy, for coming on.
No problem. Always fun. Even though this is my first time being on this cast, but
Now
you
you're
know,
never
whatever,
going to be on
talking to
again.
you.
So
Right? Sure. That's fine.
you
Great.
Unless
Good for
you
you.
start up a new PR company.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
Maybe
Uh-huh.
back to talk.
That's actually true. You know, Bacon snuck his way back on the show because he started Nerd Guys, Nerd Family, whatever.
Hashtag drop fusion.
Yeah.
Yeah? You want to drop
Let's be
with
drop
a,
fusion.
with a zero is
Or-
the O and drop?
Fucked up fusion. You
Fucked
already
up
got the thing right
fusion.
there.
Oh,
Oh.
feel free not to answer
Up
this,
fusion.
Gassy. Is Fucked Up Friday trademarked?
Is it?
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
Oh, gonna have that.
It's gonna be in about 3 minutes.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna leave that a mystery.
Do some shout outs, and while you're doing that, I'll fix a green screen on the card.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, I'm Gassy Mexican. As I've mentioned throughout the show, I do YouTube and Twitch. I'm a variety caster, variety gamer in general. I just make fart jokes and try to make the funnies. Sometimes I succeed, sometimes I don't. Feel free to check me out. All my stuff is. Hold on, it's there. Is that right? Is that the right
Yep,
direction
that's
to be
the right
pointing?
direction.
There you go. Oh, there's even. I forget you have it on your Skype thing now. I can see it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Check it
Do
out.
that
He's an
more
okay guy. Trust us. Okay. He's all right. I'll stay with
It's
that.
better than the other one where I just called you an asshole.
Yeah. This fucking asshole gets people drunk and then makes them do a show the next day.
Yeah. That's true. That's
No, but it's a lot of fun. I'm happy to be on the show.
Yeah, we enjoyed having you here. Zeke, do some shout outs, sir.
Yo, my name is Ezekiel III, or Zeke for short. I have a Twitch channel, which you're on right now. YouTube, all kinds of Twitter, same thing. It's all Ezekiel_III. I broadcast variety stuff, and I want to thank Gassy Mexican for being on, and it's was a great show having you on here because this is something I really wanted to discuss, and I'm glad you were here. Thank you to everybody for coming. If you like what you see here, follow the channel that you're on right now. Thanks.
There you go. I'm going to try not going last and see if that still feels awkward because I'll let you know after we do this. I wish I could also just mute Skype Because like the dead air is also. I don't know why I talk about this every time. Hi, I'm
Already
JP.
fucked it up.
Yeah, I'm JP. You can find me over at twitch.tv/itmeJP or youtube.com/itmeJP, where this VOD will be after we go offline. The first hour is still processing, but it should be uploaded here in about an hour. Thanks everyone for coming on the show. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope it helped one person out there. If that's all it helped, then that was more than enough. And I don't know what next episode's going to be or who's going to be on it because I haven't thought that far ahead. But as soon as I get to know, you guys will know as well. So that's all I got. You want to do some shout-outs?
Yeah, absolutely. My name is CohhCarnage. A big thank you, as always, to JP and Zeke. And a big thank you to Gassy Mexican. It was absolutely awesome having you here today. Thank you for everything. You can find me at CohhCarnage on everything, CohhCarnage. I've been doing a lot of Bloodborne, going to be moving into the Pillars of Eternity, all sorts of stuff. I stream every day at 8 a.m. EST, so if you need something to do in the mornings, you know where to find me. And again, big thanks, everyone. It's been a hell of an episode. And if you are someone out there that is dealing with the topic of the week, please don't hesitate again. Like Zeke said, talk to somebody. You're not alone in this. And just remember that time helps everything. You know, it doesn't matter how bad you're feeling. Just keep going, keep talking, and it will get better. And best of luck.
There you go. There you go. All right, Zeke, you streaming tonight? What's up?
No, just on Friday. I'm putting it in chat right now. On Friday, if that's I found the Mortal Kombat place. It's twitch.tv/Amazon Games. It'll be on Saturday. Excuse me, on Saturday. That's where we'll be, and they have kind of a counter on GoroLives.com if you want to check out the counters. 2 days, 21 hours, and 35 minutes from now on Saturday on that channel.
2 days. I'm trying to figure out what time exact. I can't. Oh, there it is. 2 days, 21 hours. So 3 hours. So 1 o'clock Eastern, I think, on Saturday.
Can you say it more radio-y, though? Like you're promoting, like you got a promo spot?
Zeke?
Just to test it out. Yeah. Zeke,
All right, coming up this Saturday, got Mortal Kombat X or Mortal Kombat 10. Hey, do you know how to pronounce that? I don't know how to pronounce it either. All right, so that's coming on this Saturday. We're going to be on twitch.tv/Amazon Games. If you want to see the countdown, it's on GoroLives.com. Saturday, Mortal Kombat. We're going to be ripping off heads and shoving them up butts. See ya on Saturday.
Perfect. I like it. We'll consider you for our radio show.
Yeah, we'll think about it. We'll think about it. Application has been submitted. I think that's how it works. I don't know. I've never worked a real job, so I don't know. Guys, We'll see you next time. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Drought Frames will be live next Wednesday at 3 o'clock Eastern with another show, so we'll see you then. Have a good one. We're out. Bye-bye.
Bye.